Welcome to Shakespeare Full Circle, a journey of a circuitous nature into the mind of the Bard of Avon, or as you become more familiar, Uncle Will. I'm your host, Qarie Marshall. What if I was to say the words to you, "All that glitters is not gold"? I would imagine you would have an understanding of that phrase and perhaps even where it came from. But how sure are you? To start off, the original phrase is "all that glisters is not gold." But when did that change and why? Well, I'm glad you asked. The phrase was first coined by Shakespeare in his play The Merchant of Venice. But as some mistakenly attribute these words to the notorious moneylender Shylock, they actually appear in Act 2, Scene 7, spoken by the Prince of Morocco. The conundrum the prince faced was this. Our female protagonist, Portia, is bound by the final wishes set forth by her father in his will, which gives potential suitors the chance to choose between 3 chests composed of gold, silver, and lead. If they choose the correct chest, the one containing Portia's portrait, they win her hand in marriage. If they choose incorrectly, they must leave and never seek another to wed. The first, made of gold, is inscribed with the words, "Who chooseth me shall gain what many men desire." The second, made of silver, reads, "Who chooseth me shall get as much as he deserves." The third, a heavy leaden chest, declares, "Who chooseth me must give and hazard all he hath." After much pondering, the prince chooses the gold chest, reasoning that only the most precious metal could house the picture of such a beautiful woman. I imagine you know where we are going with this. The prince opens the chest to reveal a skull with a scroll in its eye socket. The scroll reads,
"All that glisters is not gold. Often have you heard that told."
Needless to say, the young, vain prince was none too happy about this, and also the fact that he is now destined to never marry, and hastily departs. The phrase then popped up here and there after that, most notably in John Dryden's poem The Hind and the Panther, some 84 years later in 1687.
"If not by scriptures, how can we be sure," replied the panther, "what tradition's pure? For you may palm upon us new for old. All, as they say, that glitters is not gold."
But he uses the word glitter, which by this time had become almost interchangeable with the original glister. And then with the arrival of newfangled technology, the phrase was able to reach a broader audience than just the humble bookwormish Drydians and bardolaters.
All is not gold that glitters. All is not pure that shines.
That was sung by the members of the Sportsmen Quartet in 1947, but was originally penned in 1901 by George A. Norton with music by James W. Casey. 2 years after the Sportsmen would put their dulcet tones to this historical ditty, perhaps one of the widest-known personalities on TV decided to join in the fun.
A rabbit! All is not gold that glitters. All is not pure that shines.
However, that was not the end of it in our popular culture. A few years later in 1954, an English author you might just have heard of, a creator of Elves and Ents, would pen for his hobbit the following words. "All that is gold does not glitter, not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither, deep roots are not reached by the frost." One of the things that I love about this phrase is the fact it was penned in England, spoken by a Moroccan prince in the Venetian capital, and traveled some 350 years into the future to Brooklyn, and then back in time to J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth. A simple phrase with a broad reach, gently reminding us in this age of hyper-curated social media posts that things aren't necessarily all they appear to be, and that shiny things aren't necessarily precious things. Or as the upstart crow so aptly put it, all that glisters is indeed not gold, regardless of what Led Zeppelin would have us believe.
There's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and she's buying.
Well, alas and alack, my friends, that's all we have time for. Join us again next time for another circuitous journey into the mind of Uncle William. I'm Qarie Marshall. Farewell until next time. Episodes of this program are available at WGTE.org on the podcast page.